traveled internationally. My mom had gone to college in San Francisco, and her roommate was Vic Bergeron's daughter. Now, Vic Bergeron founded a chain of restaurants, Polynesian restaurants, that swept the nation. It was the Hard Rock Cafe of the 1950s and 60s, called Trader Vic's. Yeah. So Vic Bergeron taught my mother to cook, so she was the only woman on the Upper East Side in 1965 making, Pan-Asian cuisine in a wok before it was cool to do so. So we traveled to eat and ate to travel, and I remember being in a tiny little bar late at night, 1970, 71. I was 10, 11 years old. I was with my father, and he was in the advertising business, and we were in Les Halles, when Les Halles was Les Halles, when it was a sleepy little, wharf area with stevedores, and there was an element of danger there in the seafood market just on the edge of Paris. And we went into this dive bar that just reeked of like clam juice and wine that had spilled on the floor for like 100 years.
It smells pretty nice, I'm sure.
It was a bad smell, but then the smell of like garlic and parsley and butter cooking. And my dad was having a meeting with the guy that worked for him at the Paris office and had suggested this place to my father because there was such great food there. And out came, I was bored, I'm 10, my dad's talking business, I'm looking around, but the romanticism of, there was fog, there was, someone could get hurt at any moment. It felt like someone had pulled a shiv just the night before last, and out came this platter of bigorneau, these snails, the small blue ones, periwinkles. And there was this giant needle on the top of it, and I kind of looked down, and my father said, you use that and you pick them out. And the periwinkles, it's a tiny little bite, it's like half a jelly bean. But it's meant to be like peanuts, while you're waiting for your other stuff, and you take a piece of bread and you sop up the juices that are at the bottom. And I remember sitting there that night and eating every one of those things off that plate, and there was something about moments like that just implanted into my conscious that that's where I wanted to be. And listening to Jacques Kahn tell the stories of that place and the history of why Les Halles was Les Halles, and how there'd been a seafood market there for 1,000 years, and what that meant to the city, and how the seafood went out to these incredible places in Paris. And as the night wore on, the place got busier. So, we got there at 9, at midnight it was packed. I was like, this is what I want to do with my life. And I kept working in restaurants. When I was in high school, my father said, get a job during the summertime. So all my friends went to work for the landscaping place, and I didn't want to haul 20-pound plastic bags of animal dung onto some rich lady's rose garden and, spread, cultivate. And so I wanted to work in restaurants, and the child labor laws being what they were, a friend of a friend, was like, oh, we got a place. And so I started shucking clams and making salad at a tiny little roadside seafood cafe called the Quiet Clam in Amagansett in 1975. And I would do that at night. And so I got to spend the day on the beach, which I loved. And then at night I would go to work, and there was something about the theater of it. Every night was different. It was an open and closing. The audience was different. The excitement was different. There was a different success every night. There was a different problem every night. And that was it. I was hooked. And I think also I had my desire, my higher power's grace teamed up with a talent that I had for it, and that was it. I was off to the races, and I worked in a lot of great restaurants and did a lot of great things in the food business before turning my attention to television 15 years ago.
Yeah.